Hi there. Welcome back to Dirty Numbers, Chapter 5, Episode 4. Gonna tell you right now, this is kind of a bad one. It has a scene that I remember I didn't much care for. But I'm being honest, I'm being truthful with my memoir, so let's get into it. I'm warning you right now, this is not going to be a very nice scene coming up. Anyhow, gee, just 4 hours to go in my shift. It seemed like I'd already been there for an eternity. At least this was the time of night when most obscene callers have gone to bed. Their office job awaits them at 9 a.m., or the young ones have been caught and spanked. I would still get the odd one, but I was pretty abrupt with them. By 3 a.m., I was mainly dealing with the hardcore regulars. All 9 girls I had on working were on calls. Plus, I had 9 customers waiting for them once they got off. Got off the call, I mean. I had Susan/Sarah, my dud, being a dominant 18-year-old. Who becomes dominant at 18? Were they a bossy child and it was a quick progression to making a living at it? Melissa/Lana, the new girl, was getting a big taste of the job tonight. She was on a toys call, and I'm not talking Lego sets. Ernestine/Charlotte was acting weird tonight. If it was busy, this laid-back girl was not afraid to make hay. But tonight, she kept signing off and then signing back on. Right now, she was on a rape fantasy. Joyce/Pearl, the mother of 4, was a transvestite for the moment. And Lorelai/Jennifer, Linda/Shauna, and Grace/Tiffany were on easy calls. All their guys wanted cross-dressing to be the subject of discussion. One asked me, in a guilty whisper, to let the phone mate know he would be wearing a muumuu. I congratulated him on his wise choice of comfortable wear. Carla/Lily, the young mother of a baby, was on a call where the guy had no preference. She was the first to ring in. Here we go. "It's Carla," she said quickly. "Did Nick call back?" "No," I said. I didn't want a problem. I had to write down problems in that report book, and I just didn't have time. "He probably will," she kept talking fast. "I gotta ask you something." "What, you need 10 minutes to go get diapers?" I joked. She ignored my attempt at humor. "When I was on the call to Nick, my baby woke up and Nick heard her. So I picked her up and I tried to rock her to sleep and finish the call." Of course, I had to picture the poor baby, safe in Mummy's arms, looking up at her adoringly and hearing, oh, your cock is huge. You're hurting me. I'm going to come." Can you spell traumatized? "But the baby kept making these cutesy noises," Carla continued. "I thought for sure Nick was going to cancel, but he said he liked it. He said if I could keep the baby on all night, he'd keep calling." "Ew, that is pretty weird," I ventured. "Well, I just don't know," Carla continued. "At first I thought it wouldn't hurt, but something kind of feels repulsive about it." "Then don't take it," I decided. "I got plenty of other calls you could take." "Okay, good, I'll take one," Carla said. "And besides, I could hear him pounding his meat throughout the whole 30 minutes. I'm not going to contribute to his corrupting my child." "So you're going to call Wayne," I gave her the information. "And he has a preference. You're into incest." She simply took the call, went to work. Scene. Awful scene. 145 minutes to go, but who was counting? A few calls to place, but now was the time to catch up on making out the credit card slips. You're supposed to do them as you go along, but did I mention that the night shift was a beast? Most of the time, the credit card duties were just left to the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift. They placed all of 10 calls in a day. I almost felt nostalgic for the early days of this job. The days where time would drag by, the phone silent, nothing to do but read the Cosmos and Vogue magazines, not a single hustler or playboy to be found, do really good manicures, learn to crochet, write letters home to mom, and maybe only talk a couple times an hour to the odd masturbates. What I really want to do is take a short nap, which Rule 14 states is expressly forbidden. Heaven forbid the operator should fall asleep and miss a chance to talk to Rock Hard or last night's caller, Long John Sliver. Even the guy seemed confused by the name he'd given me. I'm a pretty light sleeper. I always have been. So I was taking chances lately, expressly forbidden or not. I was still able to answer the call before the third ring, remember where I was and who I was, and offer the "Hello, can I help you?" in a fairly enunciated voice. If he seemed to be a new caller, I was almost able to go back to sleep as I delivered that spiel. And even though I was in a sleep-deprived state, I still had their wherewithal to tell if the guy was a dud or not. However, once 4 a.m. rolled around, it was like most of Canada and the U.S. were sexually sated. The calls, even from the time wasters, finally relented. Instead of all 6 lines going nonstop for 5 solid hours, I was offered moments of peace. One time, the phone did not ring once from 5:45 a.m. to 5:53 a.m. It was the best nap I ever had. On average, the phone would ring once every couple minutes once the clock passed the 4 a.m. hour, and I would have a solid nap for those 2 minutes. I would wake up to take the call, pass it to a phone mate if he was a legit customer, make the usual notations on the file, busty, dominant, and then drop back into my coma. Today, though, I absolutely had to stop myself. I felt like I was on thin ice at the sex shop. Twice, Gabrielle was pounding at the door to be let in at 7 a.m. I was asleep, and both times I heard the door as I awoke, but I kept saying, "Hello, can I help you? Can I help you?" Then I realized it was the next shift, and not just the next shift, but Gabrielle in particular. I always felt like I had to be so deferential to her, although she was just another receptionist like the rest of us. But we all knew she was Harold's girlfriend, so that almost made her a boss, or at least a head receptionist. The first time, I told her I was delayed because I was in the bathroom, and I saw her go in and make a big thing out of looking at the sink. She even touched the porcelain to see if it was wet. Not a word was spoken, but I got her drift. And a couple days ago, I was asleep at the wheel again when that door pounding finally filtered through. If it was a phone ringing, I was good to go. I was brainwashed to know that sound. Like Pavlov the dog, I guess. But door knocking only happened, once a shift? Not like, 1,000 phone rings. So I ran down to open the door, saw the pinched look on Gabrielle's face, and offered up a serviceable excuse. "Sorry, I was on the phone," I lied. Gabrielle simply stared at me, or rather at my lying mouth. My hand instinctively went to my face, where I felt some kind of a rash. Or maybe that was a big pile of dried drool. Busted again. The sleeping on the job was not the worst of it. Harold called me yesterday around 5 in the morning. I thought I was going to catch hell for catching a few winks, but Harold eased into it. "Hello, Jessie," he said in his oddly monotonous voice. I want you to know that we are quite happy with your work. You're bringing in a lot of new customers and you're very reliable. Reliable meaning I was able to work almost any shift they asked of me. Last week, I did 4 days of double shifts in a row. 64 hours spent out of 96 dealing with horny men. Thank you, Harold, I politely responded. I hope that was all he was calling about. A lot of men seem to like your voice, Harold continued. They do? I stupidly asked because I already knew they did. I didn't know that Harold knew, though. That's what they've been saying, haven't they? He asked. I guess so. Because you know we listen to the voice tapes, don't you? Suddenly Harold's monotone had a tiny ominous zest to it. I really didn't like talking to Harold. You never knew where the next salvo was coming from. Well, it does say on the rule board that the calls may be monitored. Which is why I'm calling, Harold stated. My mind went into overdrive. I knew I handled the business end quite well. I went to all extents to get the call, though my definition of extents is modified on a daily basis. I was prompt to call Visa. I hustled to get the phone call to a phone mate. And then my mind almost blew an engine. While Harold and Gabriel, though we all had to pretend we didn't know they were an item, were away on holiday, Jimmy and I were in relationship hell. We both had things to say to each other, and with me at work most of the time, the phone was the only way we had to scream to each other. Still, I would put Jimmy on hold while I took calls from the sickos, and I would change my screeching voice to a sweet one while I did so. Then I sat up straight in my disgusting swivel chair, which had no real color to it. Was it gray, blue, light black? But the swivel chair was not on my mind at that moment. I was recalling that I had discussed my boss with Jimmy, and words I had used were not complimentary. Far, far from it. Tightwad, greaser, Bollywood wannabe, bastard a time or 200. I prepared for the worst of it, a tongue lashing, and hoped for the best. You're fired. We've been listening to the tapes from November, Harold informed me. We? Him and Gabrielle? Him and his secret silent partner? I played dumb. And we find that you're starting to get too grumpy, or maybe I should say too annoyed at the men when they don't fit our criteria. They're what I call time wasters, Harold, I educated him. Some don't have credit cards or the phone is not listed in their name. Maybe they're underage. Listen, Jesse, Harold said, little people grow up to be big horny men. And eventually they will get a credit card. Hopefully a few of them. And most of them will eventually have a telephone in their name. He ended it there. There was a long silence, and I wondered if I should break it with some brilliant repartee. So be nice to them, Jesse, he outright decreed. I know the language can get a little distasteful sometime. A little? And sometimes being 56 minutes an hour? But if you are friendly, they will likely remember us in the future and place a legitimate call. Do I make myself understood? Yes, Harold, I mumbled submissively. What I really wanted to do was dominantly say, yeah, right, you stupid boss. The future scenario will play out as such. Joe Jerkoff is not getting a call because he has no credit card. Jessie, the sweet thing he has reached, is oh so sorry she can't help him achieve ejaculation, apologetic that his financial situation is so abject that he can't even achieve phone sex gratification. But do call back in the future. I'm sure Joe will hang up. He runs to his dear diary and he makes an entry of the number to the nice phone sex company he had reached, so that in 3 years, when he's again jerking off over a magazine, he'll think, oh, I do believe I will stop this, and I'll look for the number of that phone sex company. Where did I write down that number? No. What he will do when he does get a credit card is look at an ad in the current porno magazine he's reading, if salivating over tits and ass could be called reading, and if he sees a hottie he likes, he'll call the number attached to the ad. But I didn't have the energy to defend myself. I'll be nicer, I added. The line went dead. I didn't hang up. I just stared at the phone as if it were repulsive. Are you kidding me? I have to try to be nice to these time wasters? I really hated to think so much of my life was wasted speaking to these men. When the customer was a legitimate client, no matter if he wanted a 50-year-old bitch with a vocal anus, I knew I was taking an order, doing my job. But these others, if you were working at a burger joint and every second customer who came to the counter ordered diapers or sang dirty sea shanties or started masturbating, wouldn't management do something? Oh, wait. Management just did. Scene. And then I would fuck you deep with my fist. Mm-hmm. And the phone is listed in your last name? Suck my cock, bitch. Suck it. Suck it. And how do you spell that? Take this cock, bitch. All 10 inches. Take it. Take it. And the credit card. Oh, I just came, you fucking whore cunt. And with that, I snapped wide awake. I couldn't believe it. I was actually on the phone with a customer who managed to sneak one past me. Not that it hasn't happened before. Sometimes it's even with a regular customer and it's just an accident. But somehow I was awake enough to take a call and think I was processing it, but asleep enough not to realize how far the guy had progressed. But what really jarred me awake was his use of the word cunt. For some reason, that word rubbed me the wrong way. Any man who used that word instantly became lower in my eyes, or ears, as the case may be. Ew, I told the caller. You're a pig, sir. Remembering the boss's request to be nicer, I gently hung up on him. Already in trouble for personal talk on company time, and here I was, looking for trouble again. Falling asleep on the job, I reminded myself, is no longer an option. If only I wasn't so damn tired all the time. Then I recalled that when I got home today, I had a breakfast date with my honey pie. Well, his breakfast, my supper. It was our weekly date, usually ending up with a little hanky-panky before he went to work. It all sounds so sweet, doesn't it? Yet things still weren't right between Jimmy and I. Oh, he was still there for me, and I know I loved him, but something was awry. I guess, if you looked at all aspects of our relationship, it was pretty much perfect. Jimmy was a clean freak while I was okay with just tidy. He cooked. He had a fondness for laundry. He was brought up to pay bills on time, work at a job, and change a tire. And I adored him, which he said was enough for him. There was only one teensy thing wrong. our sex life. And lately, I had come to realize how huge a part sex plays in a person's life. After the initial hurdles we had experienced once I started work at La Sex Shop, things like accusing me of letting work turn me on and then accusing me of letting my job turn me off, well, we'd reached a stalemate. We knew we were meant for each other, but when it came time for sex, we had become so damn cautious. Neither one of us would suggest we try something new. Neither wanted to indulge in fantasies. Actually, maybe Jimmy did, but we just didn't talk about it. In the old days, Jimmy would laughingly say he was exhausted from work, and I would pretend to be a nurse and, well, I'm sure you know how that scenario plays out. Or if I was tired, but Jimmy was in the mood, he would willingly strut around like he was a Chippendale dancer. He knew I loved that. But all that seemed like such a thing of the past. Take this weekly meal. We both will eat quickly and then we will make our way to the bed in our loft. Basically, we would go through the motions until he came and I faked it. Another new thing that was happening. Sometimes I would think, I'd like to try nibbling on his ears. But no, he'll think I got that idea from my job. It all had become so stagnant. And no matter how perfect my relationship with Jimmy was, I'd trade his dishwashing skills for his old lovemaking ways any day. Scene. And that will end it here because we're going to go up to the last episode coming up. That's kind of a fun one, informative. So thanks a lot. I'll catch you soon. Bye.